Hadouken!
Welcome to the Now, I'm Ashley Jenkins.
I'm Ryan Haywood.
What's the biggest way to piss off your fans in the middle of development for your unfinished early access title? This is gonna be a tough one, but I think we can go with charge them for paid DLC before your game's even done.
I don't know, that guy that did Stomping Land and just left. That pissed off a lot of people.
You could do that too.
But no, this is pretty bad too. In a move that could set a potentially strange precedent for early access titles, Studio Wildcard's Ark Survival Evolved, the popular dinosaur survival game, just got its first batch of fully finished 4-pay downloadable content.
Welcome to video games, everybody. At $20, the new pack is more expensive than the currently on sale main game, which, by the way, is still buggy and unfinished, hence being considered early access, despite millions of players buying it since it launched on early access in June 2015.
Now, players who are feeling burned by the developers are review bombing Ark in protest over the ironically named Scorched Earth DLC.
That's a great, very appropriate name. So, what makes Scorched Earth worth putting down $20 when the main game isn't even ready for prime time yet? According to the DLC's description, it puts players stranded, naked, dehydrated, and starving in a vast desert full of new, harsh conditions, where they'll encounter dragons. Okay, so the dragon sounds cool, the dehydrated, starving, maybe a little bit less fun.
I mean, I like that it's new content, but yeah, it would be good if you don't start something before you finish something. The new content not only takes players to the new desert biome, it also enables them to tame new creatures, craft new items, battle new ferocious boss creature called the Manticore. So you're just doing all this new stuff in a desert instead of the island.
It effectively doubles the content of the game, which is why it's got the $20 price tag. But if it was so costly to make, why even start on it if you're still trying to finish the original game that people already gave you money for?
Yeah, it's
Is it because they already gave you the money? Is
well,
it because you spent it?
I mean, you can't say that they didn't put more work in, though.
They did,
They
yes.
took the money, they've doubled down on the game.
They worked on this instead of the game that they took the early access money for.
You could assume there's a possibility that these could be co-developed. I mean, the work going into expanding this game also could work into improving the game.
You're very kind to give them the benefit of the doubt. I'm not that big.
I'm trying to be nice. It's definitely kind of an unprecedented move, though, for a high-profile early access title like this one, and that could open kind of a weird door for other games to do the same thing.
Yeah, needless to say, fans are pretty pissed about that door being open. Ark Survival Evolved has now been review bombed on Steam, dropping from an overall positive rating to a mixed rating in the last 24 hours thanks to hundreds of negative reviews. Take that, now you're mixed.
Yeah, there are all kinds of colorful reviews, with many players calling the DLC a total cash grab.
One reviewer with nearly 1,000 hours in the game writes, started off as a shining example of how to do early access, ended up a complete disaster after the developer went off on adventures of making SOTF, console versions, and paid expansion while still in early access. No wonder the game is so behind schedule.
That is a fair point, yeah. No, it's not meeting your deadlines is kind of a huge issue.
Yes.
Others are pointing out that since you can tame huge creatures like fire-breathing dragons and then bring them back over to the main game, Studio Wildcard is also making the game sort of pay to win.
And then you've got people who actually bought the DLC also leaving negative reviews like the following. I have to admit that the DLC looks nice, and because I'm addicted to Ark Survival of the Fittest, I've bought the DLC, but I don't like it. It's bad for the fan base, and if this DLC sucks, I'm done with Ark because I don't feel like supporting this kind of behavior.
Okay, that sort of makes you part of the problem.
But at least they realized it later?
True.
Interestingly enough, the reviews for the actual DLC are still overall positive, with only about 70 negative reviews at the time of writing. At least we'll see how that changes. That's partly because the haters seem to be focusing on the main game itself rather than on Scorched Earth, but it could also be a sign that we're dealing with a vocal minority here, and that is worth noting.
Many of those positive reviews are encouraging people to ignore the haters, arguing that considering the amount of hours you get overall with Ark, which are basically doubled thanks to all the content available in the DLC, that you're more than getting your money's worth.
And that's how Studio Wildcard feels about the game as well. In a new feature/PR piece with Polygon about the new Scorched Earth DLC pack, they state that the game is giving you thousands of hours of content, which not many games do.
Okay, so you're just doing this to make me appreciate how much overall value I'm getting. That kind of makes sense.
Of course, you give me money and then you appreciate having given me money.
I do appreciate it. Wait, but I got a game for it.
Damn it!
Thousands of hours of game.
About charging for DLC, co-creative director and co-founder Jesse Rabchak said, some people might see that this is an early access title and we're selling an expansion pack, and they might have an ideological issue with that. I don't think we're ever going to please those people.
Wow.
Well, yes.
And apparently we're not going to try. He went on to say, but what I would say to them is that this expansion pack represents much more closely the final look and feel and polish of the game. We've been working on it for a long time. We always plan to release it close to the launch of the game, so why sit on it? Let's get it out there and let players enjoy it.
Regardless of the developers' intentions or whatever value they feel they're adding to the game with this, and it's hard to argue that it's not worth the money considering the amount of content, releasing paid, fully developed DLC is a move that screws over people who are still waiting for your main game's core features.
Now, these are the people that helped fund your development and also your current customers. Trying to find new ways to get money out of them before you've really finished may not be the best move to keep your fan base.
It's making some wonder if the developer is in a little bit of trouble and if they had to do something to insert some quick cash flow back into the studio. The game seems to be doing well enough according to its sales on Steam, but they did just have that recent lawsuit over the game that had to be settled for about $40 million.
The big worry from players now is that this title is opening a weird door and setting a bad precedent for other developers who might start coming up with more ways to keep wringing money from players while not finishing their early access games. Kind of like Pandora's early access box.
Yeah, you don't want that one opened. We'll have to see how this develops and whether or not Valve will continue to allow a practice like this on Steam.
So what do you guys think of Ark charging for DLC while the game is still in early access? Let us know in the comments.
And for future updates on early access antics, like this video and subscribe to The Know.
I'm gonna go get that DLC.
No, Ryan, don't! Your ideologies, Ryan!
I don't have those.
The ideologies!
No, seriously, don't buy it though.